guys, this is Jean from Happy Indulgence, and today I will be doing my March 2019 wrap-up. Is it March? Yes, it's March. During March, I read 5 books. I was really pleased with myself, mainly because one of those books was Priory of the Orange Tree, which has over 800 pages. March was a really great month for us, mainly because I got more comfortable with baby Amelia and taking her out. She's actually 11 weeks tomorrow, and she is such a good, calm and settled baby. I just spend my days just staring at her face and cuddling her close because she's just growing so big. I had a moment the other week because I had to pack away her 4-0 clothes, which are for newborns, because she's growing out of them. And I got her weighed last week as well. She's actually doubled in weight since birth, which makes me super happy because I've actually helped this little human grow. Being a mother, there's nothing quite like it. The love that you feel for this little one is just so overwhelming. It's so precious seeing all the little developments. Everything she does is completely new. But then there's also the anxiety that comes with being a new mom. You don't know if you're doing anything right, but the main thing is as long as she's happy, as long as she's sleeping, as long as she's eating, I think I'm doing an okay job. And I am actually trying to get some sleep now and trying to keep busy. And these days are just flying by. Oh my gosh. So back to the books that I read. I read 5 books this month. As always, I'm going to talk about the books that I love the most to the books that I love the least, and let's just get started. So the first book that I read and loved is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So this was our name of the book club pick of the month, and I really enjoyed this dragon fantasy. The different parts of the world actually split up based on the philosophy that they formed on the Nameless One, which was this huge dragon that came in and invaded the world 1,000 years ago. There aren't too many dragons in it, I would say, except for one perspective, which is Tane, who has a dragon herself. Most of it was based around Virtudom, which is the queendom, ruled by Queen Sabrin and her handmaiden Iad, and basically Iad is put there to protect Queen Sabrin. And Iad is actually an undercover person from the Priory, so I really love both her perspectives and also learning about Sabrin through her perspective. There is a female-female romance there, which I really enjoyed, and it was really well fleshed out. Then we also get Tane, who is a dragon rider. She is from the east. I see it as kind of Asian inspired. In Seiki in the east, they really revere dragons and they learn to ride them and befriend them. They have a conflict with the west, which is where Virtudom is and Queen Sabrin is, and over there they really hate dragons. So this is how the world is split apart. Anyway, the thing that I really love about Priory of the Orange Tree is how it really takes time to build out the detail in the world. So the 4 corners of the world kind of based off our own world. So you've got the monarchy, the Eastern Kingdom, you've got the mysterious kingdom as well, and a dragon kingdom as well. And it's all super fascinating. I love how diversity was just a part of this world, how it wasn't like sold as, oh my god, a big diverse fantasy. It's just simply accepted, and the female characters were so well fleshed out, and having a high fantasy with female characters that aren't just resorted to rape or slavery or just being a wife or being part of a pleasure house was actually kind of great to read. I was totally here for each and every one of the characters. We do also get perspectives from 2 male characters, one called Loth, who used to be Sabrin's best friend, and he's been exiled. And then there's also Niklaus Roos, and he's like a 40-year-old like anatomist or alchemist, and he wants to pretty much get back home as well. And there's a M/M romance there as well. So I really enjoyed this book. Just the fantasy and the detail, all the world building was done really well. I really savored the world and how it was built and how each of the characters was so well fleshed out as well. Even though it is a standalone read, I did find that there were a few things in here that were a bit too convenient, and everything just ends up being, you know, happy. Although I did read a Q&A from Samantha Shannon, who says Tane's perspective is actually left open for a sequel. So who knows, we may be seeing them later in the future, but who knows. So if you are thinking of picking up The Priory of the Orange Tree, I can really recommend it, especially if you love high fantasy, dragons, and feminism. So I gave this one 5 stars. Next one was a super cute read, and this is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, and I really wanted to pick this one up. One, because it was a really cute read, and because it has a really cute gay romance. So it's basically about a boy and he befriends this other boy. He says, "I fell for a straight boy, haha." So he doesn't know whether this other dude is straight or gay or is questioning it. So anyway, Heartstopper was a really cute and fun read, and I really think, you know, it will give you all the feels as well, and it's a super quick read. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Next one is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. So obviously this isn't the real cover. I'll put a thumbnail here with the real cover. It's a separate novel to The Hate You Give, but it does refer to the Garden Heights of the original novel. I really enjoyed this one as well because it's about 16-year-old Brie who wants to become a rapper. She's really highly opinionated. She won't let anyone quash what she thinks, and she will always speak her mind. But because of that, she's been labeled as aggressive, and people are just afraid and intimidated by her. But the thing about Brie is that she will not let anything stand in the way of her dreams of becoming a female rapper, even if that's her own mother, the media that kind of typecast her as an angry black girl, and even if that's her auntie who is a bit of a drug dealer. It feels like everything's kind of working against her just because she has an outspoken and sassy personality. That's what I really liked about her, but it does get her in trouble a lot of the time. I loved her passion for rap music as well. Not only is she working against being a young 16-year-old black girl, she's also working against an industry that heavily favors male rappers. So it was interesting learning more about the rap industry. And there is a lot here about, you know, a system working against you. Not so much with police brutality, but more in her school. There's 2 security guards who always pick on the black kids in her school. So there's more about that as well. And also how everyone kind of just thinks of Brie and the people in her neighborhood as hoodlums, as gangster hoodlums. So I really enjoyed On the Come Up. I thought it was a really great read. There's just something about Angie Thomas's writing that is completely fantastic and really, really pulls you in. And you can just really feel for its characters. So I gave On the Come Up 4 stars. Next book I read was actually an audiobook, and that is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. It wasn't too memorable that I would go and run out and pick it up. Basically, it's about a girl called Elizabeth Frankenstein who's been adopted into Victor Frankenstein's family, and she basically learns to dote on him. She is a friend of Victor's from when he's young to, obviously in the events of Frankenstein when he's a bit older, Victor just progressively gets more and more twisted, and Elizabeth suddenly finds herself supporting him no matter what, and then they have a special understanding between themselves, and it's kind of toxic, kind of codependent, and kind of creepy as well. So I liked seeing like how there were people who kept on disappearing and Elizabeth didn't know what happened to them, and it's a bit of a mystery around that as well. So I ended up giving The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein 3 stars. It was dark and creepy, but it wasn't that memorable for me to want to run out and read it. So the last book on my list is 4 Dead Queens by Astrid Scholte, and this is a Love Oswald fantasy murder mystery. I was really interested in picking this one up. One, because I love Oswald reads, because they're from fellow Aussie authors, and because it sounded totally up my alley, combining murder mystery and fantasy. So I was really disappointed in this one, even though I did read it really, really quickly, and I actually stayed up to read it. It's basically about 4 dead queens who rule 4 different quadrants. Each of the 4 quadrants have different philosophies. One is basically an agricultural quadrant. One basically values technology and knowledge. The other one values arts and entertainment and beauty. And the other one basically values curiosity, exploration, and seafaring. I really liked the world. I thought it was really fascinating, especially how there was a king and then he decided to take a wife from each of the 4 quadrants, and then when he died they basically became the rulers because they thought that was easier. As I continued reading, the world was really ill fleshed out. We were basically told how people live their lives in each of the quadrants rather than showing it. Even though you're living in a particular quadrant, it seems like you all have one personality because your quadrant simply values that personality. And there were a lot of unanswered questions that I had about this world and about the 4 queens. So these 4 queens are basically murdered off one by one, and it's alternated by the perspective of Kiersten. And Kiersten is a thief who intercepts Messenger with a valuable package that shows you how each of the queens are assassinated. I thought the plot was really fascinating at the start, so it really does a lot to really pull you in. But then as we keep on going, so you see the queens murdered one by one, and one by one as you follow the queens, they reveal their secrets that they're harboring. And then you've also got Kiersten, whose perspective is alternated between the queens, and she's learning about their murders and trying to find out how to bring her message back to the court. And she also befriends the guy Varen as well, who was the messenger. I thought it was a bit predictable towards the end as well, and the thing that kept me reading is I really wanted to find out who the murderer was, but it pretty much hands it to you in a silver platter halfway through. Everything was a bit too convenient towards the end. So not only is the world not well built, like why are there 4 dead queens? Why is there queenly law? If these queens can't even stick to the laws that they created, why don't they just change it? There's one of the queens as well, she's like a 16-year-old queen, and she prefers to just muck around with her lover who's her advisor rather than rule her world. And how does that even happen, you know? There's a lot of like politics and grudges and gossip and secrets between the 4 queens themselves. The world's not well built, the characters are kind of one-dimensional. We're pretty much given the answer to the mystery on a silver platter. You know, by the end of it, I was just super disappointed because I was expecting a lot more intrigue, a lot more mystery, a lot more fantasy. It's actually a bit of a sci-fi world. And I thought the world was quite reminiscent of the 4 factions in Divergent. It just seemed to be a bit too much of everything, and it kind of overreached on everything. I gave it 2.5 stars. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on what you thought about my thoughts on the books, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more. Thanks guys, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.